1, 2, oh, 1, 2, 3. Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Today I just felt like sharing some more of my own fruits of labor for my own personal practice. So that was something that I unexpectedly ended up working out yesterday. Just some composed material over the first half of a rhythm changes form, so like the first two A sections. And of course I made a PDF of that. I thought this actually turned out to be something very much that could work really good as an etude and definitely beneficial to practice consistently. All right, so that's why I wanted to share it with you guys as well. So the PDF will have notation tabs, basic harmony for rhythm changes, and there's a couple specific places where I even tell you like the down up picking, because I think it matters, or certain things where I'm specific about the technique. And I'm not going to break down this whole thing in this video. I'll point out a few cool things, and say some things that you might find insightful. But it's there if you want to study this and check it out yourself. All right, it'll be available on my Patreon for individual purchase, or you can become a contributor and get everything on this channel for only $5 a month. All right, so first of all, like I said, when I worked this out yesterday, I didn't even have the original intentions of doing anything like that or trying to compose something. That actually happens a lot in my practice, where I'm just doing the work and I'm doing something else, and the natural process leads me to creative flow. Truthfully, what I was working on in the moment was some comping practice in the key of B natural for rhythm changes. And when I say comping practice, just a side point, by the way, if I'm really working on my comping, what I really mean by that is like I'm focusing more on, can I really just consistently comp the changes or play chords, whatever the style is, or the, specific scenario of how I'm comping, and keep it together and not mess up and accurate and have it feel good. So it's really more about the time and like not so much about like, hey, can I play all these cool voicings or try to intersplice these different, cool harmonic vocabulary ideas that I might be working on, like in other videos I've shown you. If I'm confident I can do any of that stuff, but the focus with comping practice is more like, can I keep this together and keep it alive and consistent? All right, so side point over. So like I said, I was actually doing it in B natural, and like the ADD guitar player I am, was feeling good and everything, but I might start to hear melodies or just start improvising instead of comping. And at one point I started hearing things kind of related to how that etude started, the right, and it kind of reminded me of like 1930s, maybe Lester Young, Coleman Hawkins type phrases or ideas. So I can sort of see or hear the lane in my head, and I figured, all right, let me just pause for a second, let me see if I can work that out into something exact. And then from there I figured, because that really starts off very much like a consistent motif with a consistent eighth note subdivision, I figured, hey, may as well at least try to get through one A section and, see if I can keep it going, just a stream of eighth notes the whole time, just for the hell of it. So, a lot of times when I'm composing, whether it's intentional or not, typically if I'm doing something like a contrafact or whatever, and this could be seen as a contrafact as well over like a rhythm changes form, I don't necessarily give myself restrictions. If I'm trying to compose over a set of changes, I try to listen or hear musical ideas in my head, and, whatever they may be, I just try to, get that out in the guitar, figure it out, and that's basically what I'm composing. But like I said, the situation, I figured, hey, may as well, it's not an exercise. I think it's still very musical, and that's the point. But this turned out, like I said before, to really be something worthwhile practicing, like as an etude, to keep it together and keep a constant stream of eighth notes the whole time. You see, even though when it comes to stuff like etudes, I'm the person that likes to say, treat all the music like actual music that you really love, like etudes, doesn't matter what it is. The idea is to be able to like play it all the way through and, have it be correct and not mess it up. And that's great. Even classical composer and pianist Franz Liszt, some of his best compositions and the ones people like to play, I think they were originally considered etudes themselves, right? But with something like this, where you have a constant subdivision straight through, like all eighth notes, I think there's a lot of value in that, being able to actually work on this so that you can do it perfectly all the way through and keep it together. I think this is an overlooked, thing in practice. Because to me, if we were to look at like what I did there, I'll play it like a little slower. Even though it's going through rhythm changes, harmony, if we were to like just take that phrasing in on a surface level, like what the ear is processing, I think the most primary sort of characteristic of it is the rhythm, or the fact that what you're hearing is a stream of eighth notes. The chord progression is almost just like this road that you're walking through, but it's like if you were like a professional like runner or walker or dancer, it's like how are you like going through that road or driving through it? It doesn't matter what the route is. You could be like dancing through it or running or walking. So the way we're going through it now is just a stream of eighth notes, and the ear hears that and feels that. All right. So, and another thing having to do with this, like it's an etude, what you're developing from a technical perspective. Like to me, the feel of these eighth notes, it's more even and smoothed out as opposed to the very, we think of a lot of times just swing, like the eighth note triplets. And if you were to start slow, a lot of people might run the risk of going like, but when you speed it up, it's really more even and smooth. So even if you like individual phrases in this, and I still, think that that's a good idea when you're learning material, of course, take like the individual parts that you really like and isolate them and work them out and try to put them in your playing and all that. Like that's a big part of it too. But I am also a big proponent of, the benefit of actually learning complete pieces of material, whether you composed it or you transcribed it, whatever it is. And being able to play it from start to finish and be correct. I keep saying that over and over in this, because, you know, I think that's a big part of what actually sounds good when you're listening to someone play. I think we put so much focus on the individual phrases because we'll hear certain parts that we're really attracted to. And like, oh, that's cool. Like, what are they doing? But like, I always use the juggling metaphor a lot lately. It's like people are oftentimes, I think, overlooking the point that whatever it is that you're doing, it's perfectly, flowing in sequence with whatever came before and after. You're not messing it up, right? So we need to practice that, whatever we're working on. And another thing, if we were to look at this more from the compositional perspective, you know, while this is eighth notes all the way through, I'm taking my time and I'm composing something that I actually think makes sense. And every note, has a purpose and it's right where it needs to be. Because sometimes when people, are trying to get their phrasing and their vocabulary together, a lot of times people, I think, will neglect or won't even consider this part of what they're doing. Like they'll learn all about the harmony and the changes and the substitutions or arpeggios and what to play over what. And of course that matters. But then when they go to play, whatever comes out, it's not that they're playing just eighth notes all the way through, but they're just sort of playing eighth notes. Now, obviously there's nothing wrong with that when we hear someone do it well and they can play like a consistent stream of eighth notes or any subdivision for that matter. And I actually have another etude that was on a very early video on this channel. Maybe I'll put a link to this one in the description too, where it's just eighth note triplets all the way through over a blues in the key of A flat. But same thing, it's like I said before, the ear is hearing this stuff from a phrasing point of view, like just processing a subdivision. So if you want to be able to do that, work some stuff out and don't be afraid of thinking like, oh, like how is this improving or helping me improve as an improviser if I'm just working on pre-practice stuff, because I need to be able to improvise and put things together. But again, I'm a broken record, but you gotta be able to keep this stuff together. So this is how you develop that. Real quick, I just wanted to add some things I forgot to that last point pertaining to improvisation. When I think about this area of progressing as a jazz musician, it's stuff like this that's exactly why I'll often say things like I think improvisation can be a dangerous term or idea for aspiring jazz musicians who are learning how to play this music correctly. Because while I would agree that improv is absolutely one of the primary ingredients of jazz music and one of the main things that jazz musicians may do, or what we may say they're doing, I think that, when it comes to improv, I think there can be a tendency to have that consume a lot of new jazz musicians' focus in terms of what they think or how they comprehend like what their task at hand is in the moment when they're actually playing, or what they think that they have to do. All right, because don't let the notion of spontaneous invention essentially like inevitably lower your standards for yourself when you're playing, and being okay like with, hey, do I think what I'm playing sounds good, or is that what I would want to play? Because I think because we accept that we're improvising, it's like, oh, we accept the growth or the progression where, oh, maybe we're not fluent now, so it's okay if things mess up or whatever. But are you even listening to what you're playing? You still want to strive to play things that you're really hearing, or things that you think would really sound good, and not just like, oh, I'm playing the right arpeggio or chord or whatever on the chord and I'm in time, so this is how you play and this is how you make music sound good. All right, so again, with that spontaneity thing, because we still need to be able to fluently keep up. That's why I always reference the chord tones and half notes exercise. I think that's the main, one of the perfect things to develop that component in order to be spontaneous. If you're trying to play eighth notes through, which is something that professional jazz musicians may do at any given moment and pull it off, if you're trying to get better at like hitting or improvising over chord changes fluently, how do you do that? By putting yourself in scenarios where you have to make the changes and actually make them correctly and fluently. So if you're trying to do that and that's your focus, you can't expect to think like, oh, maybe a good exercise is to just play eighth notes straight through or improvise, because isn't that what jazz musicians play? And I'm going to expect that I can fluently improvise. It's like, no, make the rhythm simpler, chord tones. That's the point of that, and just one more thing with this, because like I said, like this particular thing is an etude. It really is more about the technique and realizing that it's okay sometimes to, have it come down to, really just needing the technique or the ability to play something, and it's not coming from like a lack of knowledge or concepts or approach to improv or anything like that, right? So, and this thing, I literally just wrote this yesterday, worked it out. So, I played it in the beginning, it was okay. That's at 200 beats per minute, but the point even for me would be to practice this more. I intend to play it faster. Even when I was initially hearing the ideas when I was doing comping practice, I may have like been hearing this faster. I may have been playing at a faster tempo, because check this out. If I just play the MIDI of the PDF file, I'll play it at 200, the same tempo that I did it at, and there's no swing, and because like I said before, it's supposed to be like an even feel, but same tempo that I played it. Right? So it's okay. I mean, that's what it is. But I'm just literally gonna change the tempo, nothing else. I'm not messing with articulations or anything. And it's like, you could tell now it's at 250, and it's like more like the idea is supposed to be played at this tempo, and listen to how it feels. This is what you get in the PDF, right? So hopefully that makes sense, right? It's like you just need to be able to play stuff and stop focusing so much on like, making sure you get the best notes. And because I'm actually being intentional with my composition, like the fact that I am playing something that inevitably may be boring or basic, just bland eighth note straight through, it doesn't matter. It sounds good, right? So Obviously we have like this motif. Like I said, it kind of reminds me of Lester Young, Coleman Hawkins. Um, Now, and again, like this part here is one of the trickier parts technically for me. Than this part with the augmented triads. Uh, right? But to get that perfect, you might even look at, like I said before, any individual part of that and think like, oh, like that phrase is cool, or cool augmented ideas. Like that's the thing to work on. And it's like, yes, but like, can you actually get it like flowing in between, other ideas and have it come out, correctly? So that part's tricky for me. Now, like I said, from a technical point of view, and this is one reason why you really may want to check out the PDF for everything, it's like when I'm coming out of this part, now check this out, like technique-wise, really the most efficient or economical thing to do, I'm in position with my ring finger here, I'm going to slide down to go to this next position, and then the same note I was just at, I'm going to hammer on with my pinky. So this way I'm in position for that augmented, right? And then I have this, right? Now, one part that I will point out here at the start of the second A, I just think that this is very interesting, like as a motif where I go, right? Because look what I'm doing. I'm basically like enclosing the root of the B flat rhythm changes. And I forgot to say that before, like I transposed this to the key of B flat because, like I said, I was originally in the key of B natural, but I didn't want to give you guys a etude for rhythm changes in B natural and have somebody be like, are you kidding me? But, so we're basically enclosing the root at the top of the A, like the root over there. So is the 9 or the second, and then the leading tone or the major 7, so like an enclosure. But the second time, I start on the same note, and then instead of going to the root, I skip over it this time, and then go to the root. And then I go to the flat third, and then, resolve into the regular one, like that bluesy thing, right? But that motif, and then there's one of the only eighth note rests in the whole thing there, but it, creates that syncopation. That's the type of thing to me, like when you look at the details of that, where it's like, there's no concept, there's nothing in that you're gonna like distill out of this and be like, oh, that's a reason why it sounds cool, and then I'm gonna apply that to like other ideas in an improvisation. It's just like, no, it just sounds good, and that's why you gotta get into the specifics of material, whether you wrote it yourself or you transcribed it, right? And then from there, after that phrase, here, what am I doing? I'm literally descending a B flat mixolydian scale from the root down to the root, right? At other points I was thinking more B flat major, but there I decided to use the dominant, like a tonic dominant. Again, how many times do we hear people saying like, don't run up and down scales or whatever, and we know what they mean, they have good intentions, but it's like, it doesn't matter what you do. It matters if you're doing the right thing for whatever the music in your head is or what you're intending to say, right? It makes sense within this context. So it just kind of goes to show you, like, don't be afraid to do things that you think might be mechanical. It's all about, like, where is it coming from in the first place? Like, have an idea in your head. Totally rambling right now. Let's try to wrap this up with a few things. So, as far as, like, the picking, like, in the beginning, because, technique-wise, I start with all those, like, chromatics, right? So you might think like down, up, I'm doing even numbers of notes, but like I'm starting on an upbeat on an and a 3. So just the way this lays on the guitar, it makes sense to start with like an upstroke where it's like up, down, then same thing again here to continue the alternate up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And then from there, I do economy picking. So now I can do downstrokes from here. Like up, down, down, up, 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 right? So I'll include the picking for like those there because I think it's interesting and it matters to get it smooth. The rest of it, pretty intuitive. There's nothing in particular about the picking. Other than that, I'm trying to see if there's any other things in this interesting to point out. You know, chromatics. It's a cool phrase, right? But if you look at it, because I haven't really been talking about this today, again, I don't think the harmony or like where the chromatic passing tones are, you know, how I'm landing on certain notes or whatever, all that stuff might be valuable to know and understand. But, you know, it's more like if you were to look at this and analyze it, but if I was analyzing this and I learned this from someone else, I would interpret the harmony of this basically just as like, oh yeah, of course, like that checks out, like that's what it should be. Like it doesn't surprise me. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't, you know, discover or try to learn other, you know, especially cool sounding harmonic ideas that are unique or that we can't use that in our playing. But, you know, focus on like, hey, can I play the tune or play over the changes, and is it going to be in time, and do the lines make sense and everything? So I hope that makes sense. I feel like I'm kind of rambling here today with this, but maybe I'll edit some of this, you know, hopefully it'll make sense. All right, so like I said, the PDF is there if anyone is interested. I think it's definitely a good one that can develop your technique. All right, so I guess we'll leave it there. So if you enjoyed this video, you know, I'd appreciate if you gave it a like, consider becoming a subscriber, you know, just do what you can to support me. Patreon, you'll get all the PDFs on this channel for only $5 a month, so it's really the best deal. If anyone is interested in lessons, you know, feel free to reach out, you know, put your questions in the comments, and that's it. So thanks for watching. You know, I hope you enjoyed that and got something out of it, and I'll see you in the next one.